the next step as far as the process was the songs themselves. The time of Revelations and the sound of Revelations is getting further and further and further away from our current generations. What is a contemporary sound of a traditional spiritual? During that time, I was trying to figure all this out. I ran into Dubois Akin.
Collaborating with Matthew has been a dream. I early on understood the gravity of this assignment. I really did. I was very sensitive to that. I'm like, God, how am I gonna facilitate these brilliant musicians to create something that's even remotely worthy of being in the conversation around Revelation? This is a master work. It's Mr. Ailey's Mona Lisa, you know what I mean? And so like to even try to approach that felt really humbling. And I knew what I wanted in terms of like the makeup. I knew that I needed a pianist, a drummer, a bassist, a guitarist. I knew I wanted at least 3 to 4 singers. And initially I wasn't gonna be one of the singers. I feel like going on, no trials come. I grew up on spirituals, I grew up on hymns, I grew up on that kind of sonic framework. So I knew that I needed to work with people who were generative, who weren't rigid in terms of needing sheet music and those types of things. Like we wanted to be inside of those Africanish traditions of oral learning. And so it's a real jazz way of working. Jazz not in the musical genre, but jazz in the ideology. That's improvisational, that's riffing, that's transposing and transcribing. Those were things that we played inside of. And so I knew that I needed to work with both singers and musicians who had that level of skill, that level of capability. As like a music nerd and like creative nerd, one of my favorite pieces that we mounted is Passage Song. Piece has no legible English, but we create language because we explored this idea of coded language. And I started to think about Africans and people from the diaspora, from the continent, who were being enslaved and sold into slavery and having to make that journey and coming from different tribes and different tongues and having to, in real time, communicate with one another and literally build new language to be able to relate. As a Black boy from the South who was afraid to admit that he was a dancer, to now be working with the company that helped unlock that inside of me is crazy. And then to be a generation from Mr. Ailey and to be joining his legacy and helping to push that forward, it's been absolutely amazing.